This is going to be good. All right. We are talking about company values today and how to lead a values driven team. I truly believe that this is the bedrock, that this is the foundation of a successful business in not just revenue, not just growth, but I believe that having a foundation of core values that everything else is based off of in your company is foundational for making an impact. It's an indicator that a business is going to truly go out and change the lives of the customers or the consumers, whatever you call the people who use your end product, right? But I also believe that it is going to impact, maybe even more so at times, the people who work inside of your organization. So, leading a values driven team is what I want to dissect today. And this is by no means something that we have mastered, right? I want to constantly be improving how our company values are lived out inside of our organization, but it's something that I'm learning, and it's something that has been so cool to evolve over time because it becomes not only a way that I start to reflect on our success of the business, but our team members also start using our core values in their language, and it becomes like a part of this team unity that is so cool. So I want to talk about, core values. We're going to talk about why they're important and how you should be establishing them inside of your business. So let's dive right in. First of all, what are core values? I believe that core values are this is how we do business part of your business. It is a declaration. It is usually a few things, a few sentences. It could be anywhere from 3 to 5 to probably 10 at most. I think that 5 or 6 is kind of the sweet spot. And they're simple statements that indicate this is how we do business. And the cool thing is that the values generally are a reflection, of the way that you believe that business should be done. They are a unique reflection of you as the CEO and the things that you truly believe in. So I encourage you, if you haven't done a values exercise, I'm not going to go through every single step. There's tons of information on the internet. Literally, you can Google just how to choose company core values, and you're going to be inundated with information. What I want to talk about, because I feel like it doesn't get talked about as much, is how to actually incorporate these values so that they're not just a statement that you look at once a year at an annual retreat or that you just put on a wall somewhere and never really implement, right? How do you actually lead a values driven team and incorporate it into the day to day? So I'll start out actually by reading our company core values. So if you can see me here, if you're watching our podcast via video on the YouTube channel, you can see we have a little plaque that we give to every single team member that has our core values on it. So I'm going to read them from here, but if you're just listening in, you can hear them as I read. So number 1 is that we value action over perfection. 2, we creatively carve our own path. 3, we respect all people at all times. 4, we practice irrational generosity. And 5, we serve first. So again, 5 simple values, but these values guide so much of our business. So why is it important to have company core values? There's really 5 key reasons that I can identify on why it's important to have values in general. And this is how we've seen that implemented inside of this business that I've created. So, number 1, it helps with decision making. And I don't think we actually think of that in the beginning. It's like, okay, yeah, I need to have these company core values because there's whatever document or program I'm in, whatever book this podcast Abby's doing says I need to have them, right? But what's so cool, and this is something that we have seen played out inside of our own organization, is that whenever there is kind of a rough spot, whenever there's some like a grinding decision, you know what I mean? Like, should we do this or should we do that? It's so cool to have core values to look over. So for instance, if we are deciding whether we want to release a new product, right? And there's a lot of decisions that go into this. I'm not just saying you should release new products all the time. Please, do it simply. But there has been times where we're like, we know that this is the right time. And even though it's not perfect, action over perfection, we're going to do it anyways, right? And so it literally helps us in decision making. Same with irrational generosity. And we key in sometimes even on the irrational part because there will be times where maybe we're having difficulty with a student that's in one of our programs, and everything inside of you is just like, oh, this person has just been, like we've had people be not like the nicest inside of our paid student groups, or we've had to let go of a student for one reason or another. And we, as a company, and I'm not saying everybody needs to do this, but it's like, how do we handle that? Well, two of our core values are we respect all people at all times. And that's all people, right? We're going to be respectful, even if it's not a great situation. We can be firm, but still be respectful, right? And then at the same time, irrational generosity. So there's been times where we've had to let a student go for one reason or another. And we've decided it's like, should we give them some kind of a refund or whatever? And most times we do decide to do that. Again, I'm not saying that you need to do that. And that's what's so cool about core values is that they're different and they should be different for every organization. The way my organization is ran is going to be different from the way that your organization is ran. The way that we make decisions is going to be different than the way you make decisions. If I had a dentistry office, right? I would hope that one of our core values would not be action over perfection. Like, please do your job well, right? Like, I saw a news story the other day that somebody like swallowed a drill bit. Like, that's the kind of stuff if you have action over perfection as one of your core values in a dentistry office, right? So, you want the core values to be fitting to what you're doing, tied to your mission, tied to what you're doing every day, but also tied to the kind of culture that you're trying to create. So, why have core values? They help you make decisions. Another reason, number two reason why to have core values in your business is that they really help align your team. And this is one of the things that we are leaning in really heavy to right now. The thing is that as you begin to grow a team, and we'll talk about hiring for those core values as well. That's it's one of the key factors in hiring. But when it comes to actually aligning your team, getting everybody on the same page, especially if you hired people according to those core values, then you're going to be able to meld the team together again with the core values. So if things start to get off pace, right? Like if you start to get distracted, or you start doing shiny object syndrome, or there's like some kind of dissension in the team, or you just get that feeling like we just don't feel unified right now, which, hey, we've been there. We're a team of 20 remote employees. We literally have people in Florida to Washington to New York to California, right? Like our remote team spans the entire United States. So there's going to be times where we don't feel a sense of like complete unity. And what's so cool about having core values, especially ones that are lived out inside of your organization, is that they can help align everybody. And so we do this in a lot of different ways, which we'll talk about. But one of the most unique ways, and that one of the ways that I love, is at our annual team retreat, right? We sit down and we just dive into our core values and we talk about them and we get everybody's input on how those core values have impacted them as an individual. And it's so cool that with like being actually in person, running an online company, we don't do that all the time. And so that has been such a cool way to realign our team whenever things are off, right? People want to feel connected to a common goal. And I've seen this especially over time, and maybe you have as well. I feel like in general, I feel like when I got out of high school, it was kind of like, hey, find a good paying job, find a place that you're going to enjoy working. And people still want those things. They still want to be paid well. They still want to be recognized for their work, all of that. But I feel like now more than ever, people want to be united to a common goal, to a common mission, and have values that they truly connect to. And more, I think it's because more and more companies are catching on like, hey, this is a great way to like have retention and have like to get good people who stick around, is to have core values that people can attach to, right? And so there are people who will literally choose to make less money because they feel connected to the vision. And I feel like that really shows the power behind it, right? They also, I feel like the third thing is that core values really motivate a team, right? Especially if your core values are something that people can get excited about. So, for instance, we have a celebrate channel. We use Slack for communication. And one of the coolest things is when I see people posting about our core values. We actually have a core values Slack channel and a celebrate channel. So celebrate is just like our student wins, testimonials, cool things that happen, sometimes even personal things that happen. But then our core values channel is specific to our core values. And what's really cool about that is that even in the celebrate channel, sometimes people will like mention the core values, right? Like, hey, in keeping with irrational generosity, my family and I were at a grocery store and we paid for the person's groceries behind us or something. Like it's impacting the daily lives of the people inside of our team, which I think is so cool. And it's so cool too when those inside core values start to trickle through to like your customers or your clients, right? Because we've seen that as well. People saying inside of our Facebook groups, okay, action over perfection. I finished my logo. And even though it's not perfect, I'm not going to let it stop me from getting out there and getting clients, right? So it's just really cool because it can become a real motivator when your values are just a part of your team, a part of what you're doing on a regular basis. Communicate principles to customers again. So this is the way that our students interact with us. They interact with us because our core values are not just something we share internally, we share them on social media, right? We talk about them in live streams, we talk about them in YouTube channels, we have them on our website. Literally, these core values are ebbing and flowing through everything that we do. So it's not just us, it is a guiding principle for how we do business. So it sets an expectation for our students that are going through our online programs that we sell. So, and then the last one, and I think maybe the most important one, is that they help you hire well. I could talk for days and days and days about hiring for culture, hiring for attitude fit, right? There's an amazing book on hiring called Hiring for Attitude by Mark Murphy. Check it out. It has changed the way that I think about hiring. And one of the things that I think is so cool is that they say, hey, you've got to figure out what they call it your brown shorts, right? And essentially it's based off of, I think is it UPS or USPS? I forget. I think it's UPS that they had everybody come in and ask their applicants to put on these brown shorts, right? As like part of their interview. And literally the people who were like, no, I'm not going to do that. They asked them to leave, right? And I forget what the exact principle, I probably should have looked it up before I started giving it as an example, but essentially they had this determining factor like people are going to go like above and beyond essentially for this company, and those are the people that we want to hire. And so they kind of instilled this brown shorts principle. Well, the book encourages you to come up with your own brown shorts. Like, what are the identifiers that say, man, this is going to make someone love working here, or this is going to be a good fit for our company? For us personally, out of all the core values that we have noticed the one that causes the most friction is we value action over perfection. And that is honestly really, really difficult. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that is one of the things that is nice when you have core values is whenever, if you do have to let somebody go, sometimes it's actually a relief to them because they didn't actually align with your core values. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with valuing, hey, we do excellence and we do 110% in everything that we do. Like an organization that does that, I think is super cool. And people with the same kind of values would do that. I am, not that way. I'm a quick start. And so action over perfection is really a lot of how we do the business. And I hope you don't hear that and think that we release total crap, right? That's not the case. However, we know, hey, this podcast right now that I'm recording, it's probably not 110%. I plan to have like a full podcast studio with a really cool background and all this stuff. So when we do our video ones, it's going. Right now, I can hear somebody outside mowing their lawn and it's not 100% perfect, right? But action over perfection. I'm not going to stop moving forward because it's not perfect. And that has been a real struggle. There's been people on our team that we've hired that have just resisted that to the point where we're like, I just don't think this is a good fit. And there's nothing wrong with that. So you start to find out what your brown shorts are. These are the things that it's like, man, if you can't embrace this, even if it's not natural, because not everyone's a quick start and that's okay. You need people who are non-quick starts in your organization too. But people who can't like embrace the value as a whole really aren't going to enjoy working here. And so you start to identify those things over time, right? And so if you can implement hiring for culture inside of your hiring process, it just helps that much more to have employees that are going to love working for your organization and who are going to stick with you for the long term, which is what we all want, right? So, these are the reason why I think it's important to have core values. This is what they do. So, let me talk for a few more minutes just about how we personally integrate them into the business. I've kind of said a few of them, but I want to know from you too, is this something that you've incorporated into your business? Do you have your values? Number one, do you have values? And number two, have you actually incorporated them into your business operations? And I would love if you want to tag us over at HelloSavvy Co at HelloSavvy Co on Instagram. If you have your core values, do a post or do an Instagram story. Number one, it's good because it's actually telling your customers or your consumers, whatever your students, whatever you call the people who consume your product, it's telling them that, hey, these are our core values. But if you tag us in them too, then we can check them out and celebrate them with you. So I want to know if you have core values, what they are, and if you've incorporated them into your daily business operations. So I am really, really convinced that some of these companies that we see, right? The ones that just blow up and become super popular. And I'm talking like commercial companies, I'm talking the Ubers and the Airbnbs. I believe that so many of them, why they stand apart from the rest is that they live out their values in every part of their business. And living out their values becomes an actual key component to how they do business, not from a big theoretical way, but on a day to day practical way. So there's four aspects to values and how you can integrate those values into your business that I want to go over really quickly. Okay. So the first is that value and cultural alignment must be lived out from the top down. And this is why your core values should not just be something that you Google and copy somebody else's, right? Because they need to come from you. They need to come from like your heart and your soul and what you truly believe. Because if you can't live out those core values, there is no way that they're going to trickle down to the rest of your organization. Just not going to happen. So, and I firmly believe that your core leadership team should really, really be living out these values as well. So, when you are deciding on these core values, make sure that they are a reflection of you and what you believe and figure out ways to integrate it from the very beginning. This is why I tell people don't wait to establish core values until you have a team. It seems like a very like, hey, that's something that big corporations do and I'm just a solopreneur, right? No, you are a business owner, you have a business and you have a company culture even when your business is just you. If your company is just you, you still have a company culture. You are your company culture. So this is actually the perfect time to establish your company values because as you start to hire, you can start from the very get go hiring people that align with those company values. Okay. So, the second way that I believe that you integrate your company values inside of your organization is that you actually bring them into your hiring process. So, for those of you who don't know, we are launching a freelancer marketplace because I believe this is why so many people are frustrated with growing their business is because they need to hire help, but they're not hiring for cultural alignment and values fit. Most of us will just go on one of those other freelancer websites, one of those other freelancer marketplaces. We'll post a job and it's just kind of race to the bottom dollar who can do this the cheapest. And if it's a one time quick project, maybe that's going to be fine for you, right? But I believe there are some of us who are yearning for another platform that is like, hey, I need somebody to partner alongside me. I can't hire a full time employee yet, but I still want somebody who believes in this business the way that I do and who aligns with our vision, who aligns with our values to go and get that message out, especially when you're hiring someone to do your brand, right? You want them to understand your values and align with them so that it can be incorporated in a way that just feels super genuine throughout your website or your socials or whatever branding they're doing, right? That's just one example. So I do believe that this values and cultural fit can be part of the decision making process. So inside of HelloSavvy, we're actually having where some of the questions that we use to establish if it's a culture values fit are actually pre-built into the application process that you fill out if you're posting a job opportunity on our site, which I think is really cool. And a lot of the questions are adapted from that book, Hiring for Attitude. So, if you're ready not to hire a freelancer and HelloSavvy isn't a good fit for you, and you want to hire employees with the same methodology, I would definitely check out that book for sure and really start to integrate it into the way that you hire. And I will tell you this, we have had this crossroads before where we were hiring for, a tech position, a position on our tech team. And we had these two people. They were the top two contenders. And it was like by far, we knew these two people were the all stars. And one of the individuals was, I mean, so freaking skilled, like had degrees upon degrees upon degrees, had experience upon experience, could do everything that we asked them to do and with flying colors, right? The work was really, really well done. But in our conversations, there were a lot of things that we were like, I just don't feel like there's an actual connection to the mission, that they don't really, really believe in what we're doing, right? That the way that they're going to think about their work is going to be kind of clashing with the way that we work as a company generally. And then there was this other individual who wasn't as skilled, didn't have the long resume, right? But culture fit wise, it was just like, you get it, And it was interesting because we're a team of mostly women. And this was a guy, I'm talking about our tech guy, Chachi, by the way, our senior director of sales and technology. I should use his formal title. He's not just a tech guy, he's high level leadership in our company. So Chachi was sitting here saying like, hey, like I love that the target market that you guys are working for, and this is with my company, the Virtual Savvy, we train virtual assistants. I love that the majority of your marketing is women, right? Like I was raised pretty much completely by women, and I, align so much with this mission and I believe in it. And like no matter what, I just want you to know like what you're doing is so incredible and I believe in it so much. And it's just like, oh, like you get it, like you get it. And when you find somebody who gets it, it just changes the game, which is why we say we hire for culture over skill. Does that mean we hire people who aren't skilled? No, of course, we still need someone to be skilled in the position. But when the two are neck and neck and it's just like, oh, do we hire for culture or do we hire for skill? We hire for culture because I believe that skill can be trained. And so, yeah, I'm super, super big into this becoming a part of the hiring process, which is why we are creating that HelloSavvy platform. I also believe, number three, that culture and values, they really do need to be addressed and celebrated on a daily basis. And so, again, some of the ways that we do that, we talk about it at our annual team retreat. We have everybody get these fun little plaques that we have. We'll create swag, t-shirts, different things that have our core values on them. We have the two Slack channels where we celebrate almost on a daily basis our core values. Our weekly team meetings, we actually have a section in our team meeting where we say every single value. Yes, every week we go through those 5 core values. It doesn't take that long. But just saying them verbally to the point where I'm pretty sure, unless if somebody's really new on our team, I'm pretty sure every person on our team could just spout them off because we've said them over and over and over and over. So we say them and then we say, hey, has anybody seen an example of one of these core values in action this week? And then people will tell stories and say, oh, yes, actually, like, action over perfection. We did this, or respect all people at all times. This situation happened, and here's how we handled it. And we celebrate it right there inside of our weekly team meetings, right? And so, how can you incorporate? How can you incorporate your values into what you do? I think it does need to be multifaceted. I don't think it is just like, hey, we review them once a year at a team meeting. I think it needs to be a daily part of what you do as a business as a whole. And then lastly, values and culture must be measured. This one can be really tricky. I'm not going to lie. So you might have to be creative. So one of the things that we have done, so we have KPIs as a company, and I hope that you are starting to measure some metrics in your business. For us, we have a list of, hey, every person on the team has these few key metrics that are important to their job being successful, right? And so our customer service team, they are kind of the front lines of our students and the people who, we correspond with, right? They're customer service. So they actually have a KPI of, we call it surprise and delight. And it's one of the ways that we give irrational generosity, that we have that core value in action. is that we will look for opportunities. So it actually becomes something that we measure, that we say, hey, let's try to do at least one surprise and delight every single week. So I'll tell you what a surprise and delight is, so you're not left hanging. So essentially, I used to work at Starbucks. I was a Starbucks barista, and whenever I got trained, I thought it was really cool because there was this button on the screen that said surprise and delight. And I was like, what is this? Right. Or it might not have said the exact words, but that's how they described it to me, was that it was a surprise and delight. And essentially, like if somebody came in and they were having a really bad day, and you could just tell like a free cup of coffee would really cheer them up, then I could hit that button and it would zero out their total and we would give them free coffee. Right. And I was like, that is so cool. And so now we've established that because one of our core values is irrational generosity. We have and surprise and delight could be anything. It could be that we send flowers to somebody who, had a loved one passed, or if someone's sick, that we will, because we have most people's addresses because they're like one of our students, we can physically send them flowers or something, or a soup if they're sick, or, there's just so many different ways. Sometimes somebody will have one or two payments left and they just have a really bad financial situation. We've had people who have been in natural disasters, right? Who have lost their entire home, and we will gift to them the rest of their program because we find out about it. So those are surprise and delights. And it actually becomes a measurable KPI. So we're not just saying that we're going to do it. We put it into our metrics so that we can see that it's done, that we can measure it, and we can celebrate it. So these are the ways that we have decided to incorporate these. And I really challenge you to think of how you can do this. How can you web your core values into your business, and how can you do it before it actually feels necessary? If you know what I mean. Like, you might be like, this is a lot, and I am just a solopreneur. This is a lot, and I only have like two part-time freelancers who I talk to once a week, right? Like it might seem like overkill depending on where you're at in business, but I challenge you to do this before it feels necessary, because the firmer that foundation can be, and the more it can just be a part of your business, you're going to have that much more of a firm foundation to build your massive business upon. So, this is how I believe a values driven team can be led. And I challenge you to think about how you can web this into your business starting today.